Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Luna of the Lost Moon. Episode 6. Chapter 86. Lola's POV. I walked in front eagerly while Adrian followed behind me. I saw this huge ride that called out to me. I tugged on his arm and excitedly pointed to the ride. "You wanna go on that?" he asked and I eagerly nodded. "Let's get you on it then." He flashed me a smile before grabbing my hand and pulling me towards the booth where we got the tickets. "Why do you want to go on the ride?" he asked while we waited for the ride to stop so we could get on. "I just feel like I have memories connected to my parents on that ride," I shrugged. He nodded and did not say anything after that. The ride came and I happily got on. The ride was fun and it turned out that Adrian was scared of it. He just got on because I wanted to. He screamed out his lungs and was so quick to get down when the ride finally stopped. While he was trying to get his composure, I was busy laughing at him. Who would have thought rides would make him scared? He glared at me the whole time I was laughing, but I did not care at that moment. After he calmed down, he stood upright and turned towards the large wheel. "I'm never getting on that again," he mumbled, and I covered my mouth so I won't burst out laughing again. "I can definitely watch that all day," I said, and he turned to glare at me, but I pointed to a candy stand that got my attention. "Oh you, that looks good," I said and turned to look at him with a big smile on my face. His frown disappeared and he pulled me into him. "You're right, it sure looks good and I definitely need some sugar after that ride," he said, and I giggled. I took his hand and pulled him towards the stand. The man at the stand gave us a big smile when we got there. "What can I get the lovebirds?" he asked, and I pointed towards one big cotton candy. "Or would you like to try our couple's special candy?" he asked, and I nodded excitedly. He took different colors of cotton candy and started pouring it bit by bit into the machine while making heart-shaped cotton candy with different colors. I clapped excitedly when he finally gave us the giant heart on 2 sticks. I shared it into 2 and gave Adrian 1/2 while I took the other half. I took the first bite and it tasted like heaven. Adrian also seemed to like it. He paid and we moved away from the stand. "I'm really glad you went on that ride with me despite your fear of it," I said as we walked around the park. "I'll do it again if it will make you happy, baby," he replied, and I nodded. "Does that mean you'll go on it now if I want to go again?" I asked teasingly. "Oh, no. Definitely not the ride," he spoke quickly, and I laughed, which he soon joined in. "Were you able to get memories of them on that ride?" he asked after a while. I nodded with a smile. "Yeah, I was. For 8 years, I gradually lost my memories with them until they became distant. Crescent Moon changed that for me. I was able to feel like I belonged somewhere again. I wasn't treated badly and it has been a good experience for me," I finished with a sigh. "And I was just like your old pack until recently," he sighed sadly, and I turned to face him. "You were a jerk. Yes, you were a big jerk, but you're also the reason I grew into the girl I am now. I never would have imagined that I would be strong enough to defend myself, not to talk of being the Moon Wolf." I grabbed his face in the middle of the park and made him look into my eyes. "What matters now is that you're here and you're trying to make up for your mistake, and that's fine by me, so stop beating yourself up," he nodded when I was done speaking. "And for 8 years, I thought I was an only child also. I wonder how I did not know that I had a sibling. I continued talking and walking in front of him. I stopped when I noticed that he wasn't following me. Adrian. I moved towards him and shook him a little when I noticed that he was out of it. What's the matter? I asked when he finally snapped out of it. He led me towards a somewhat quiet place in the park and made us sit there. I did not like the silence that surrounded us. I felt like he was going to give me bad news or tell me something I wouldn't like. I had a younger sister too, he started, and I listened with rapt attention. She died 8 years ago also, he finished, and my heart broke for him. It must have been hard for him to deal with. At least, I had no idea I had a brother until recently. He knew his sister, and it must have been a hard pill to swallow. If she were to be alive, she'd be around your age by now, he said with a sad smile, and I hugged him. She'd have had my head on a plate if she could witness how I treated you. She was very fiery even at her young age. He laughed at the memory of her. What happened to her? I asked curiously. I never knew he had a sister. Nobody in the pack has ever talked about it. Not even Lila and the girls. Rogues. She was killed by rogues. A rogue I trusted and believed to be my mate killed her in my stead, he said, and a lone tear rolled down his left eye. Lola's POV. My heart broke more when I saw him in tears. Those. I pulled him closer and allowed him to rest his head on my chest while he cried. Every moment I saw his shoulders shake from grieving for his lost sister. The rage inside of me grew. I have to put an end to their menace. They already took a lot from me. Not only did they deprive me of a good life for 8 years, I had to go through heartbreak because of their actions. I lost my family and almost lost my mate too. Jasmine kept growling angrily in my head, and the weather suddenly changed. The sky kept rumbling and it looked like it was about to rain. I did not realize Adrian had stopped crying until I felt him rubbing my back to calm me down. I gradually relaxed, and the soothing touch on my back helped calm Jasmine also. Hey, it's okay, Adrian said gently, and I hugged him tighter to me. That's why you almost rejected me? Because I came into Crescent Moon Pack as a rogue? I asked after he had already raised his head from my body. He nodded before sighing. I was such an idiot to believe that she was my mate. She came into the pack battered and beaten, and I fell for her the moment I saw her, he said. Jasmine growled in my head and threatened to take over, but I stopped her. He fell for someone else on sight, but it took a near-death experience for him to acknowledge us, she growled angrily in my head. That's what he's trying to explain. You have to calm down and allow us to hear him out. We're trying to make this work, isn't that right? She calmed down and I was able to focus on Adrian that was in front of me. I believed she was my mate, but Daxon didn't. I was so sure I felt everything that Mom and Dad said I'd feel whenever I met my mate, but Daxon didn't feel the same. I'd do anything she requested from me because she was my mate, or so I thought. No one liked her, not Ariana, Mom, Dad. Nobody liked her, and I thought they were all against us because she was a rogue, so I became distant from everyone and wouldn't want to hear anything they wanted to say. He took a deep breath and I patted his back. A month after I met her, she started acting strange, but I overlooked it. She was my mate after all, he continued. What behaviors? I asked curiously. She'd ask about the circumstances surrounding Ariana's birth. Ariana is the name of his sister. She wanted to know everything about her, which I found strange, but I chalked it up to just wanting to get to know about my family, he answered sadly. Ariana called me one day and said she had something to tell me concerning Enya, but I refused to hear her out. I had been brainwashed into thinking that anyone that had something to say about her did not like her and would try to pull us apart. Daxon warned me repeatedly that he did not feel anything for her as a mate, but I was so sure she was my ordained mate. It wasn't until I held Ariana's body as she took her last breath that I realized what stupid mistake I had made. He took a deep breath at this point, and I understood that it must be hard for him to talk about the death of his sister. How did she die? I asked. I wanted to know just what was done to such an innocent soul. Enya drove a knife through her heart, another tear rolled down his face and he rushed to wipe it. She was caught in the action by Mom and was imprisoned. It was when she was in the dungeon that I came to know about her plans and how I fell right into it. She was sent to kill me as I was the next Alpha King. Which made it possible for me to feel the mate bond with her, but Daxon wasn't affected. If only I wasn't so desperate to get a mate, I wouldn't have lost Ari, he whispered sadly, and I held him closer to my body. It's okay if you want to stop talking about it, Adrian, I said gently, but he shook his head in disagreement. I have to. I want to explain everything to you, baby, he muttered, and I nodded. After a while, he continued speaking. The plan was to abduct Ariana, thinking she was the Moon Wolf because the Moon Wolf was supposedly birthed to a powerful family, but it all changed when they found out that the Moon Wolf was birthed to another pack. Her mission changed from abducting Ariana to killing me. How did she know that you did not have a mate initially? I asked again. I was really confused at this point. Everyone in the wolf world knew I was searching for my mate. It wasn't a private matter, baby, he answered. So who sent her? You asked her that much, right? I asked. At least they must have asked that before executing her. We did, but she couldn't answer, he answered. Why? She bled to death before she could answer. Some kind of magic forbade her from telling the truth, he breathed out. That was what spiked my hatred for rogues. They cost me my sister and I was on a rampage for a while. Daxon was out for blood and so was I, he said. That was what made me react the way I did when I found out you were my mate in the dungeon. Even though Daxon said you were my mate, I did not want to believe it, he finished sadly, and I sighed. I'd have been wary if I were him also. I totally understood where he was coming from. I stood up and he looked at me quizzically. We have to leave, I said, and he looked at me in question. Why? To see Serena. The earlier I can get answers to my questions, the earlier I'd be able to put them in their place. Lola's POV. We did not waste any more time in the park and drove back to the mall. It was already evening by the time we got there, and I was starting to think that Serena would have left, but her spa was still open when we got there. She was sitting in the reception sipping tea, almost like she was waiting for someone. Serena, I called when she did not look up to meet our eyes when we entered. She sighed and raised her hands towards the heavens like she was thanking them. Arg! Thank the moon goddess! I almost gave up on waiting for you. What took you so long? She asked as she got up to meet us. Adrian, she greeted him with a slight bow, and he returned with one of his. Please have a seat. I prepared tea for us, although I almost finished it while waiting for you to get here, She gestured towards the table I met her resting at. "I'll take it that you already know what I came here for," I said, but she ignored and kept filling our cups. "I think it's still good," she retorted after taking a sip from the cup, totally ignoring my question. I marched towards her and she sighed before looking up from what she busied herself with. "Oh dear. You might as well take a seat since you're near the chair." She gestured to the chair behind me before she continued filling the cups again. Adrian came to sit beside me. He put his hand on my leg that was shaking uncontrollably and gave it a squeeze. I smiled at him and he nodded reassuringly at me. Serena took her time before she came to sit down. I sat up and she smiled warmly at me. Now, Lola. Relax and be comfortable." "Serena, I need answers. I'm sure you already know why I'm here, let's not waste any more time and go straight to the point," I started while she took a sip of her tea before she nodded. "Why am I suddenly having memories of my parents and brother that I didn't even know existed? Is this related to the war we're about to fight? What am I supposed to do to fully reach my potential? When exactly is the war going to take place?" I fired rapidly at her. "Wow, you sure have a lot of questions," she said, making me roll my eyes. I wasn't in the mood for all of her jokes. Adrian's story had further fueled me to do something about the raging psycho that wished to make me his. I'll start from the last question. The time the war will take place solely depends on you and what decisions you make in weeks, months, or probably years to come, she stated, and I nodded even though I got more confused. My decisions? Is there anything relating to this war that doesn't come back to me being in the center of it all? Adrian must not have noticed my distress because he squeezed my legs again. To reach your full potential, it's pretty simple, she looked at Adrian as she spoke. You have to mark each other, she dropped, and it seemed like all the air in the room suddenly vanished. Everywhere was still and we all seemed to hold our breath. Adrian, I know you don't want to agree to that, but it's the only way. The only way forward is for you to grow stronger together, and what other way to do that than marking your mate and becoming one with them? She looked Adrian in the eye as she spoke. I heard him sigh beside me and it was my turn to squeeze his legs. Concerning your parents' memories and suddenly remembering your brother, it's a clue to who killed your parents, which will in turn lead you to the person that's out to get you, she said, and then sipped her tea. I waited for her to say more, but she kept quiet. And what exactly might that clue be? I asked after a while. Your old pack, she replied. My old pack? I asked again and she nodded her head. What has my old pack got to do with my powers? They did not even know I had a wolf. The only reason they treated me badly was because I was the cause of Mom and Dad's death, right? Or was it? Jasmine asked in my head and I got more confused. Andrew and Natalie couldn't have been in on all of these, right? They were loyal to Mom and Dad, they wouldn't have done that to them. Yet, they switched on us the moment they died, Jasmine argued, and I felt rage boiling through me. They're going to pay dearly if they were ever part of the people that knew about what happened to Mom and Dad. I take it that we're done here, Serena said before she stood up, and with a wave of her hand, the cups on the table disappeared. Whenever you have any other questions, you can just summon me instead of going through the troubles of coming here, she said with a slight bow. Adrian bade her goodbye while I stepped into the already dark night. "Do you still want us to go back tonight, or we could just find somewhere to stay?" he said when he came out and stood beside me. "Let's just stay around till tomorrow. I might have questions for Serena again in the morning," I said monotonously, and he nodded before leading me towards the car. We drove around for a while before we found a hotel. We went in and booked a room for both of us. Throughout the whole process, I felt like I was being watched, but I spoke it off. It was probably just me being paranoid. When we got to the room, we took turns showering and then slept off in each other's arms after all. I had a restless sleep that night. Unknown's POV. They just went into a room at the hotel. A voice came in through the receiver and I nodded. "Keep me updated and let me know if there's a new development," I ordered before hanging up. "I just need her to reach her full potential. Once she does, she'll be mine and no one will be able to stop me." With a smile on my face, I continued sipping my rum till I blacked out. Lola's POV. I woke up in the early hours of the morning, way before Adrian did, and kept thinking of how to get Natalie and Andrew to Crescent Moon and find out their role in the death of my parents. To be candid, I was scared of them. They played an important role with my self-esteem and person as a whole. If they had not given that order that I should be demoted to an Omega, no one would have treated me like trash. I trashed and turned until the sun rose. I was about to stand up and start lacing when strong hands pulled me closer by my waist and snuggled into me. I felt at peace. AMD relaxed into his touch. "What's got you worried, baby?" he asked huskily, and even though my mind was troubled, I still found myself getting slightly wet. He sniffed the air and smiled against my skin. "I definitely wasn't slightly wet. Your arousal is driving me crazy. Now imagine what it's taking me to stop Dixon from being naughty with you right now." I suppressed a moan. I made the mistake of moving closer to him and his morning wood poked me right in my core. "You're making it so hard to not take you right now," he groaned and slightly moved his lower body away from mine. I whined at the loss of contact and he chuckled slightly. "Let's talk about what was bothering you when I woke up." "That's not important right now, baby," he said while he sat up, taking me with him. I sighed before speaking. "I need to get in touch with Andrew and Natalie, the Alpha and Luna of my former pack, but I don't know how to go about it," I confessed. "We can just go to your former pack and talk to them," he said, but I shook my head vigorously. "Why, baby?" he asked when I disagreed with him. "I'm scared," I opened up to him. "I don't want to go back to that pack. The fact that they might be involved in my parents' death makes me more scared. What if they hurt me again? I don't ever want to go back there. That pack holds a lot of bad memories for me," I finished and buried my head in his neck. Adrian kept quiet for a while, but I could hear him grinding his jaw in anger. "Adrian!" I called out when he refused to speak after a while. "They'll meet us at the pack. I need to make a call." He stood up abruptly, picked his phone and went into the bathroom. I tried to listen to his call conversation, but he turned on the water, distorting my hearing. "That sly wolf!" He came out a while later, water dripping down his body gloriously, and what we discussed before he went into the bathroom vanished completely. He looked like a Greek god and winked at me when I finally looked up at his face. I became red with embarrassment when I realized I was caught. I ran into the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. I took my time to do my routine and left the bathroom to find Adrian already dressed in new clothes while a bag was on the bed beside him. We did not shop for anything yesterday, so I asked that some be brought for you before we eventually go shopping, my queen. I figured you wouldn't want to wear dirty clothes, he said, and I smiled at him gratefully before entering the bathroom the second time to dress up. I wasn't ready for him, my self-control is not that strong. Look who turned out to be the horny one, Jasmine taunted, and I would have smacked her if I could. Oh, please. You can't deny that he looked so mouth-watering just before, I argued back. Just thinking about how he looked made me want to go back into the room, but I refrained from doing so. I brought out my clothes hurriedly and got out to meet him sitting at the edge of the bed expectantly. We'll shop for a while before we leave, we should eat first, he said as he took my hand in his and led me out of the hotel room. We stopped by a restaurant and he ordered food for us. I couldn't eat a lot, so we left after he was done. After a moment of arguing about shopping for clothes, we entered the car and headed towards our pack. My heart kept beating rapidly in my chest for no particular reason. I slept off halfway into the journey, only awakened when we reached Crescent Moon Pack. I stepped out of the car before Adrian could step out to open the door for me, earning me a pout from him. I was about to open the door when I was hit by scents that evoke rage in me. Jasmine kept growling incessantly in my head and I growled a little too. Adrian held my hands and I calmed down a bit. I was met with faces I'd rather not see again. Immediately I opened the door. They had the guts to smile at me and my anger returned tenfolds. Lola, we missed you, Natalie said. I grounded my teeth so hard, it was a miracle they were still there. Natalie, Andrew, I acknowledged them. They looked shocked by the fact that I called them by their names, but I didn't care. Andrew spoke up, I found out what Grayson did after you left the pack. I promised that I had no idea what you had to go through, he said softly, and I laughed. I laughed so loud, and they looked at me in awe. I'm going to kill these lowlifes. What do you know about my parents' death? I abruptly asked, and the room went into a pin-drop silence. Adrian's POV. I watched her body shake with rage as she asked the fake people in front of us questions. Everybody looked at them expectantly, and they must have realized that their secret has been leaked. The woman looked pale, but the man still maintained a strong front. He laughed tensely before giving a nervous smile. What are you talking about, Lola? I treated you like family and loved you like my own daughter. I don't get where this accusation is coming from. You're being unreasonable right now, he said shakily. I could hear how fast his heart was beating and I almost laughed at his pathetic trial. I'm so sorry, Uncle Andrew. How stupid of me to think that you'd ever do such a thing to me. I must have lost my memories for a little while. Care to juggle my memory? She said calmly, and I saw fears in his eyes before he masked it. She walked majestically towards an empty chair and sat down while we waited for them to start talking. Dixon made a sound that showed that he was satisfied and proud in my head. I smirked at them before going over to sit beside her. She automatically held my hand and I felt how much she was shaking despite her brave facade, and I couldn't be more proud of her. If you'd please, Dad said after a while, and he nodded before clearing his throat. He struggled with what to say for a while before Lola cut in. I see that you're having a hard time talking about that incident. It must have been hard on you. Am I right, Aunt Natalie? Uncle Andrew?" She asked, and I could see that her rage was already trying to overcome her, so I squeezed her hand to calm her down a bit. The woman wrung her hands together more and looked like she was about to cry, but the man nodded. "The nerves of the sly bastard," Daxon growled in my head as I resisted the urge to growl out loud. "Yo Daxon, chill out. We need to calm down for Lola. She wants to do this by herself and should be allowed to," I said, but Daxon still wasn't calming down. I couldn't blame him because left to me, I'd have torn them apart the moment I set my eyes on them. "I'd ask you questions to speed this up, okay?" she said with an air of authority, and even Dad looked proud of her. "What happened to Mom and Dad?" she asked with a death glare. The man relaxed and seemed to have everything under control. "Silly Lola. They were killed by rogues, of course. This is a known tragedy in the wolf world," he replied. And he was right, that was the story everyone in the wolf world knew. It was during the time I lost my sister too, so we were not able to look into it. Those bastards planned it well. "Do I have a younger brother?" His eyes widened in shock at this question, and it took him a while to recover. No, of course not. You're an only child, Lola. How did you come up with these questions?" he said with a nervous laugh, but Lola wasn't having any of it. The wind around us changed and I knew Jasmine was in charge. They looked terribly terrified of the change in room, and Natalie, like Lola identified the woman, started crying. "Andrew, I'm going to give you another chance to redeem yourself and you better not waste it," she said, almost intimidating me, but I knew it wasn't directed at me, so I relaxed. "Now, I ask again, what happened to my parents?" she asked with venom dripping from her words. "Lola, I already told you all that happened. I already told you everything, what more do you want me to?" He wasn't done with his words when Lola's hair suddenly started to spark and her eyes glowed brighter than they did the last time. Outside, the earlier sunny weather had changed to a thunderstorm and I was wowed. I have never seen her so angry before. He was about to talk again when suddenly he was hit with a spark of lightning, causing him to cry out in pain. Lola was about to hit him with another one when Natalie began to speak. "I'd say it. I'd tell you everything you want to know." "Please stop," she wailed and pleaded, but Lola was still glowing and breathing really hard. Hey, it's okay baby. We need them alive to be able to question them, remember?" I cooed to her, and that was when she eventually calmed down. "Speak," she commanded, her voice echoing throughout the entire room. "What about him?" Natalie asked, pointing to her husband that was writhing in pain. "He caused me pain for 8 years, he should be able to withstand that for as long as your narration takes. If you don't want to be like him, I suggest you start speaking now," she said before she took her seat. Natalie looked at her mate before she started speaking. Yes, we know about the death of your parents," she sobbed out, and I felt Lola stiffen with anger beside me. "And yes, you had a brother. He died alongside your parents in the rogue incident," she confessed. From the corner of my eyes, I saw Mom cover her mouth with her hands and Dad was rigid with rage. How old was he? Why wasn't he spared? Why did you do it?" Lola's voice broke towards the end and I knew she was on the verge of breaking down. He was just 6 months, she stammered out, and the only thing that stood between her and death was that we needed to hear her confession. You aided in the death of a 6-month-old? Mom asked. I did not need to look at her to know that she was crying already. If he had been spared, our secrets would have been leaked, she sobbed harder. Lola started crying beside me and I held her to my chest. They will pay dearly. I promise. I'm sorry, Lola. I'm so sorry. We'd have been killed, all of us would have been wiped out, she kept repeating. Why? Why did you do that? Mom treated you like a sister and that was all you could do. She screamed in anger with tears streaming down her cheeks and my heart broke for her. We were threatened, Lola. There was nothing we could do. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, she kept crying. Who? Who threatened you? Dad asked and we all listened carefully to hear her. Elias. It was Elias Stone, the king of rogues. Lola's POV. Elias who? What's going on? I looked at everyone's faces and they looked genuinely shocked. I was thoroughly confused and everyone seemed to know this Elias guy except me. Who's Elias? I asked when it looked like no one was going to talk. He was the Rogue King, Natalie managed to say from her position on the floor where she sat beside her husband who was still writhing in pain. I need to find out why werewolves seem to not heal from pains inflicted by me, but that would be another day. Right now, I need to find out who Elias is and how we can track this person down. Where can we find this Elias guy? I asked with rage burning in my veins. Elias is dead, sweetie, Rose said from where she was seated, or so we heard. Because if he's dead, who would still be looking for the moon wolf? Jaden inputted his own opinion. I sighed and put my head in my hands. This just keeps leading to a dead end. Before this goes on, I need to know what exactly happened to Mom and Dad and why I can't seem to remember memories from that day, I said, and Natalie began sobbing again, making me roll my eyes. It's Drew that knows everything about it, he just let me in on some things because I would be part of the plan. He needs to be healed before we can get to the root of this, she kept crying as she spoke. I contemplated making him suffer a little more but I just couldn't bring myself to do it, I wasn't built like that. I made to stand up but Adrian stopped me. I should help him if I want to get to the root of this as soon as I can, I told him and he nodded. I moved closer to where he laid but Natalie looked wary which made me roll my eyes. I'm not trying to hurt your dear mate, so allow me to do my thing, I snapped at her. I could have killed him immediately or had him jailed if I wanted to. If they had treated me right, she wouldn't be worried about anything right now. She shifted for me to kneel beside him and since I did not know where exactly the pain was coming from, I placed my hand over his heart and felt the familiar feeling I felt when I healed Adrian rush through me. When I finally healed me, everyone looked at me in surprise and that was when I realized that Jaden and Rose did not know that I have powers already. Oops, I totally forgot. What was TDHAT? Natalie stammered out. I ignored her and went to sit beside Adrian, who hugged me to his side. You were awesome just now, he whispered into my ears and I might have turned a light shade of red. I turned to look at Rose and she gave me a look that said we'll talk later. We all looked towards Andrew that could now move on his own. He looked amazed and so did Natalie. I bet they regret their actions now. Those sorry excuses for humans, Jasmine seethed in my head. I bet they've been regretting it since they set their eyes on me, I replied to her. So, he's healed now. Shouldn't he start speaking? Adrian spoke up from beside me. Natalie poked him to start talking and Andrew cleared his throat before talking. Ryan and Lillian really died by rogues, but it was a planned attack. He bowed his head in shame as he started speaking. Yes, you should be ashamed, you traitor, I thought as I clenched and unclenched my fingers. Elias had come to make a deal with Ryan and I was there. He wanted to confirm the circumstances surrounding Lola's birth. He suspected that the Moon Wolf must have been born to them since it wasn't the daughter of the Alpha King. I did not know how he found that out, he said. He wanted the Moon Wolf to himself once she comes of age and finds her mate, but Ryan disagreed. He wasn't going to let his precious daughter be taken away by a rogue, which I totally agreed with. But it started getting serious and I got anxious. He stopped to catch his breath at that point. How? What happened? I asked him impatiently. He started killing pack members. Every day, we'd find a pack member dead with a note threatening to kill us all if we did not give him what he wanted. I tried to reason with Ryan to agree till we find a permanent solution to the killings, but he wouldn't budge, he narrated. I implored him to ask for help, but he wouldn't either. If he asked for help, he'd have to reveal the reason behind the killings and everyone would know that his daughter is the Moon Wolf. I got angry that he was protecting just one person at the expense of all of us, so I met up with Elias to make a deal. He wanted me to get rid of Ryan and Lillian and make sure I keep Lola till she finds her mate and grows into her power in exchange for the alpha position of the pack, and promise to never disturb my pack, he finished. I did not know I was crying until Adrian wiped my cheeks. Why, Mom and my little brother? They couldn't have been spared? I asked through my tears and anger. Lillian would have wanted to find out what caused the death of her mate, so she had to be taken care of too. Your brother's death wasn't planned, but it happened also. I'm so sorry, Lola, he pleaded, but I wasn't having any of it. You did such a heinous crime and still blamed me for their death? You stripped me of my alpha title and made me the pack servant for 8 years, and you're sorry? You ruined my whole life and still made me feel like a failure for the rest of my life, and you're sorry? I shouted with tears running down my cheeks. Adrian held me to his body and kept rubbing my back as I kept on crying. It was too much for me to handle. I couldn't wrap my head properly around all the information that I just heard. And my memories, what did you do to my memories? I asked after a while. We had to erase them because it was causing some controversies in the pack, and you also saw Elias' face, he answered. I stood up and made my way towards the stairs. I turned towards Jaden and said what I've wanted to do to them since the moment I saw them inside the house. Please, have them locked up in the dungeon till I decide what I'll do with them, and with that, I left towards my room. Lola's POV. I did not wait to listen to what anyone had to say after I said what I said. I walked up the stairs and went straight into Adrian's room. I think I might have gotten used to going into his room. I sat on the bed staring into space when Adrian came in. Are you okay, baby? He asked as he came to sit beside me. I met his gaze and broke into tears again. He held me closer and whispered sweet nothings into my ear. It's okay, baby, let it out, he said in between his whispering, and I cried till I soaked through his shirt with my tears. When I finally stopped crying, he passed me tissue papers from his nightstand so that I could blow my already clogged nose. I wanted to ask him why he had tissues on his bedstand, but I refrained from doing so. Good call, girl. You surely don't want to know what the tissues are used for, Jasmine said, and I became redder than I was already. Do you think I shouldn't have asked them to be imprisoned? I should be focused on getting to the root of this matter, but I really want to see them beg for mercy now. Does that make me a bad person? I hiccuped. No, not at all, baby, he consoled me. Are you sure? I asked. I wasn't going to be a weak person, but I needed validation from my mate. To be honest, I was tired of bearing my burden myself. I need someone to always vent and rant to without being judged. Of course, I'm sure. You're one of the most amazing people I know, and that's what makes you special to others, he started. A lot of people can't go through what you went through and still be pure and as amazing as you are. He pulled my face up to look at him. Left to me, I'd have their head on a pole and hang it at the pack boundary for everyone to see what happens when they touch my mate, he gritted out. Jasmine whimpered in my head, so beautiful, so mine. I blocked her out and focused on the fine specimen in front of me. I know you do not wish any harm to come to them, he said, and I was about to tell him how wrong he was, but he shushed me. Nuh-uh, I know what I'm saying. You're this way because you just heard what happened to your parents and brother. Once you sleep over it, you're going to find an excuse to not have them punished, he said, and I sighed. He was right. I'd look for a way to just let them go. You're right, am I that predictable? I asked, and he smiled. You just have a pure heart and an amazing soul. Anyone that takes that for granted is to be blamed, not you, he said with so much emotion. I did not think twice before I pulled him into a kiss, a fiery, passionate kiss. Our tongues danced against each other with the fluidness of a professional ballerina, fighting for dominance, which Adrian's won, of course. I didn't know why I even tried. He pulled me closer and I kept moving until I was straddling him. I pulled at his hair, eliciting a sound that seemed to be between a moan and a groan from him. He did not pull back from the kiss, so I continued tugging at his hair. His hand left the back of my head where it was and wandered to me, squeezing and kneading until I felt the sweatpants I had on getting soaked. He placed one hand on my waist and pulled me impossibly closer. You look so gorgeous, baby, he said. I felt myself explode. As I came down from my high, he held me closer to his body and repeatedly said how sorry he was. I wanted to ask him what happened, but I kept getting pulled under by the darkness. Just before I completely went under, I heard the words I've waited for 8 years. I love you, Lola, and darkness took over. Lola's POV. I woke up confused. It was nighttime outside and I sat up just to be pushed onto the bed again. I looked to where the push came from and it was Adrian, looking at me with a big smile. He seemed so happy, and while I was glad to see his smile, I was confused as to what was making him smile so widely. You're the reason behind the smile, a familiar voice said in my head. I shrieked and buried my head into Adrian's chest. What's the matter, baby? You look like you just saw a ghost, he said as he rubbed my hair, and I nodded. I hear a voice that doesn't belong to Jasmine in my head, and it seems to hear my thoughts too, I whispered. A voice? He asked again, and I nodded. Too bad, there's nothing you can do about it, the voice said again, and I almost entered Adrian. He suddenly started laughing and I looked at him bewildered. Does he think I'm lying? Why was he laughing? Is something wrong with me? I looked at him with a glare and he just continued laughing, which made my blood boil. I was about to ask him what was so funny when his laughter died down and he pulled me closer to place a soft kiss on my forehead. "I'm so amazed you did not know my voice," he said at the same time his voice sounded in my head. "You hurt me, baby." I looked at him in amazement and smiled before it suddenly turned into a frown. "You tricked me," I huffed before crossing my hands over my chest. He laughed again and a smile crossed my face, but I held it in. "Hey, I'm sorry, okay? You're just easy to mess with," he said in between laughs, and I finally allowed myself to smile. "Does that mean we're mated?" I asked after a while. "Not fully mated, but we're joined now. I can feel your thoughts and emotions, but it will become stronger when we finish the mating process," he replied. "Oh," I replied, even though I did not understand anything he meant. "You don't understand, do you?" he asked, and I turned a light shade of red from being caught. "We can feel each other's emotions and hear each other's thoughts, but we're not fully united as one," he explained, but I still wasn't getting it. "Oh, okay. So how do we complete the mate bond? Can we do that now?" I asked eagerly. I felt so complete and full of life, and if I was just feeling part of what I'm supposed to feel normally in this stage, I wanna feel everything 100%. I looked up at him eagerly and watched his eyes filled with desire and hunger, and he wasn't hungry for food. The tent in his already changed sweatpants was a testament to what my question caused. I looked at my body and saw that I had been changed too. I looked away from him, but he held my jaw and made me look at him. I could feel myself getting soaked again. "Oh, come on." He pulled me such that my back was against his chest and caressed my hands, which made me throw my head back on his shoulder in pleasure. "The mating process will be completed once you mark me too," he said gently. "We should do it now then, you can teach me all that I need to know and how to go about it," I said lazily, far too gone in his touch. "Let me repeat that, my queen," he said with hints of laughter in his voice. "The mating bond will be completed when you mark me," he finished, and my eyes shot open. "Adrian," I whined, and he chuckled lowly. "You asked, baby. Is it a crime to answer you accordingly?" He chuckled and I glared at him. "So if you're not ready to beg for mercy, the completion of the mating bond will have to wait," he said softly, and I felt like my face was about to burst from how hot it felt. I was about to open my mouth when my stomach growled. "That wasn't me," I quickly said, and he laughed loudly. Yeah, it definitely wasn't you. Let's get you something to eat." With that, he scooped me into his arms and went out of the room. He placed me on a kitchen stool while he whipped up something to eat. He must have forgotten that he wasn't wearing a shirt when he brought me downstairs. His bare back contracted as he moved with ease around the kitchen. Jasmine purred in my head and I almost laughed. "Our mate is so finey," she purred, and I nodded in agreement. "I can't wait to complete the mating process and make him all mine," she remarked. "Jasmine, I'm not ready for that yet," I pouted in my head. "I'll wait till whenever you're ready, baby." "No pressure," Adrian's voice suddenly reached my ear and I shrieked. "Stop listening to my thoughts and conversations," I glared, and that man had the guts to shrug his shoulder at me. "I've always been wanting to know what goes on in that pretty head of yours, and you did not block me," How was I supposed to stop listening? He said with a mischievous look in his eyes. Is that why I can't hear your thoughts? You blocked me out? I asked and he nodded. That's lie alpha. Baby, you don't want to know what goes on in my head. You'll be permanently red, he said, and I became red, making him laugh. He placed a plate containing a sandwich in front of me and my stomach growled again. Yup, you should definitely eat. He placed a kiss on my forehead before taking a seat. Not giving much thought to what he said earlier, I dug into the food and light have moaned a little on the first bite. Baby, you have to stop doing that to me. I'm barely holding on, he said, his voice lower and huskier, and I gulped. It's not my fault you made the food taste so good, I retorted before I continued eating. He did not eat because he had dinner already. I asked him where Rose and Jaden were and he said they were probably asleep. We both cleaned up the plates and prepared to head back to bed together. I was already thinking it might be a bad idea to sleep together. I did not know if I was going to be able to control myself. Adrian let out a string of curses beside me and I looked at him in worry. Is anything the matter? I placed a hand on his chest to calm him down a bit. After taking a few deep breaths, he spoke. Another body was found at the pack border. Lola's POV, not again. This psychopath is really messing with me. You should go upstairs and rest, baby, Adrian said, and I looked at him like he's grown another head. Is he with us right now? Jasmine asked. He must have forgotten why this is happening, I replied to her. I should go upstairs? I asked him incredulously and he nodded unsurely. You've got to be kidding me, Adrian. Should I remind you why all these is happening again? I asked, my voice rising with every word. It's already late and it might be a trap. I don't want you to, I cut him off. One word, Adrian. I dare you to say one more word. He looked taken aback by my words and just kept looking at me in silence. If you've forgotten why all these keep happening, should I juggle your memory? Right now is not the time to be sentimental. People are dying, people you are supposed to rule over, that we are supposed to rule over, are dying because a psychopath wants me, and you think now is the time to be protective over the one that's supposed to protect everyone. I spat in his direction and he kept mute. Are you going to stand there or are you going to put on some clothes so we can leave? That question seemed to pull him out of the trance he was in, and he broke into a smile. I raised my eyebrow in question and he pulled me into a hug. That was amazing, baby. You radiated so much power and I could not help getting turned on, he said after he pulled back and gave me a boyish grin. I'll just put a shirt on then we can go, tomato cheeks, he said and went towards the stairs, leading to our room. Oops, I just said our room. I kinda like the sound of it. It did not take long before Adrian came back with a shirt on. He held my hand and we left the house. Before we got to the place where the body was found, I already smelled the scent that supposedly accompanied the rogues. Adrian! I called out to him. Yes, baby, he stopped in his tracks and turned to look at me. It's the same smell. And it's stronger this time around, I said low enough for only his ears. Can you lead me in the direction where you sense it's the strongest? I nodded and led him away from where the warriors stood. They all looked at us in confusion, but Adrian did not pay attention to them. Nathan followed behind us, probably wondering why we were wandering when there was a body to check out. Suddenly, I heard Nathan shout, "Adrian, to your left!" Without thinking about my next action, I pointed my hand in the direction Nathan shouted and a cry of pain was heard later. I had released lightning on the intruder without thinking. My mate's safety was the most important thing then. A couple of warriors ran over to the writhing body while Adrian shielded me with his body. I rolled my eyes at him and Jasmine laughed in my head. "You'd think he will realize that we can handle ourselves given the fact that we just took down a rogue," she said with a soft laugh, and I agreed with her. "I swear he acts like he has amnesia sometimes," I replied to her. "I can hear your thoughts and conversations, baby. Careful what you say or there might be consequences," I heard his voice in my head and suddenly put up my wall. "Oh oopsies. Take him to the dungeon and await me," he barked at the warrior, and they all bowed to him before they left with the rogue that was still in pain. "What if he dies before we reach the dungeon?" I asked as he was being taken away. "Should I just heal him?" "He should be able to survive it," he replied. "Wait, we? What do you mean we?" he asked, and I rolled my eyes at him for the nth time that night. I swear my eyes might become permanently glued in the eye roll motion with the way I roll my eyes around this man. "Yes, we. We, as in, you and I try to keep up, Adrian," I said. Nathan laughed behind us but covered it with a cough. "Lola, the dungeon is not somewhere you should be, try to understand me. Do I need to remind you that that was where I spent my first night or two when I arrived in this pack?" I countered with my hand on my waist, and that was what it took to shut him up. "And that's how you win an argument, ladies." We went to the pack member's body and it was the same manner of death as the first one. He was stabbed in the neck before his heart got carved out. The heart was placed in a box with a note saying, "I see you're already getting close to uncovering this. I can't wait till you are mine, love." A shudder ran down my spine after reading the letter, but I did but allow it to show on my face. I did not want to give Adrian any excuse to make me sit out going to the dungeon. We soon left for the dungeon again after a thorough check of the area was done and it was found clear. My heart was beating rapidly as we walked to the dungeon. I felt Adrian trying to talk through our mind link and put down my wall. "I can hear your rapid heartbeat, it's not too late for us to go back, baby," he said tenderly, but I was obstinate. I put up my wall after declining and we moved forward. The air around the dungeon was heavy with despair and anguish. I took a deep breath as we entered. We had not gone far when I sighted Andrew and Natalie, but I did not get to look at them for long because Adrian blocked my view. "You don't need to feel bad for them. They're getting a taste of their own medicine," his voice rang in my head and I sighed deeply. "Were they at least given food?" I asked. "I just couldn't ignore them, they were good people at some points in my life." "I'll see to it in the morning," Adrian assured me, and I nodded slightly. We got to the cell at the last end of the dungeon and the rogue was there, still writhing in pain. He looked up when he heard us enter and his face lit up when he saw me even though he was in pain. "I see the reason he wouldn't stop looking for you," he managed to breathe out through his pain. "You look so gorgeous," he smiled as he spoke, and Adrian growled loudly but I held him back. "Who's looking for me?" I asked him and he looked me straight in the eyes. "Wouldn't you love to know?" he said before groaning in pain. "This is going to be a long night." Lola's POV. Jasmine was starting to get annoyed and wanted to be let out, but I reined her in. I need to hear what he has to say before any other step can be taken. You'll need to calm down so we can get any information he might have for us out of him, Adrian. He's just trying to rile you up, so stop growling and let's concentrate on the matter at hand, I snapped at him when he kept growling at the rogue who kept laughing at him through his pain. Yes, I'd like to know who you're talking about, so why don't you tell us and we'd spare your life, I told him. I'd have loved to tell you, but I wouldn't survive anyway, so I'll carry it to my grave, he groaned. Thinking he was talking about his pain, I moved towards him a bit and Adrian followed closely behind me. If it's about the injury, I can heal it. You'll be fine eventually, I just need you to answer some questions I'll ask you, I said gently. You're so thoughtful, but I'm going to die either way, he muttered. Adrian pulled me back from him and shielded my body with his huge frame. Adrian, I started, but he cut me off. That's enough, Lola, he growled out. You shouldn't be here in the first place. Nathan, see her out, he ordered. Oh, no. He's joking if he thinks he's going to go all alpha mode on me right now, Jasmine said and took over my body before I could react. You'll not tell me what to do in this situation, Adrian, her voice boomed and everyone was shocked. Even the warriors looked taken aback, but no one dared to speak. Jasmine, Adrian called out, but she held a hand up to silence him. Enough, Adrian. I think I can handle the situation pretty well, and let's not forget that I can protect myself if the need arises. Do you need any more proof? She pointed towards the rogue that was writhing in pain, and Adrian relaxed a bit. Arg, I just want to sleep in my mate's arms, not argue inside a cell. What were you doing in the pack and how did you get in? Jasmine asked the rogue directly, completely ignoring Adrian. Like I'd tell you, Jasmine, he said mockingly, and I could feel the rage building up inside of her. I mentally facepalmed at the back of Jasmine's mind that I was. Jasmine, being forceful wouldn't make him speak. He already knows he's going to die, we need him if we're going to move forward, I tried reasoning with her. Allow me to be in control. I can handle this, please, I pleaded, and that was when she finally allowed me to take control back. We'd make sure you're safe, you need to help us for us to help you, I tried reasoning with the still writhing rogue and saw the look in his eyes shift from being obstinate to trying to reason with me. I wanted to see what exactly the moon wolf he had been looking for looked like, so I hid in the trees after everyone left, he breathed out. Who? Who exactly is looking for her? Adrian asked from behind me, and I turned to give him a glare. Can you just allow me to handle this? I pleaded through our mind link. He ran his hands through his hair before he started pacing up and down the cell. How come no one was able to spot you? I asked again, crouching to his level. I witch, he barely managed to cough out. We have a powerful witch on our side and she helps us to mask our scents when we are going into other people's territories, he said, his voice dropping with every word. Thank goddess for Werewolf hearing who? Who exactly is looking for me? I asked him, hoping we'd be able to get something out of the whole situation. I can't say, he wheezed. Why? My patience was already running thin and Jasmine was on edge. She was more affected by this whole thing because a wolf feels more connection to its people than the human side. I wouldn't be able to mention his name anyways. I was wondering what he meant by that when he spoke up again. But I can say this much, he breathed, there's a traitor amongst you. Very close to you, he said. His breathing was getting more labored and I started pitying him. I'm going to cure you now. You look like you're in so much pain. I made to put his hand over his body but he stopped me. I really appreciate you trying to save me but I wasn't going to make it anyways. If anything, I'm glad it's happening in a pack. I became more confused at his words. We were made to believe that all pack members are evil, egoistic people, which was true in my old pack but you've proven me wrong. He gave me a weak smile. I'm glad I got to meet the Moon Wolf before I died, he said, and I felt broken. Just what has these psychopaths done to get people to follow him? I know you keep saying you can't say it but can you please tell me the name of the person in question and where they can be found? With a resigned look in his eyes, he opened his mouth to speak but an unexpected thing happened. It happened so fast and I wasn't able to do anything about it. The robe burst open and his insides splattered everywhere. Since I was beside him, I got his remains all over me. My whole body was covered in bits of the human body and I just sat down in it. I was numb. I did not know how I got home, I did not know I got changed and cleaned. I couldn't sleep through the night, the image of his remains was stuck in my head and I couldn't get it out. I did not cry, I did not sleep, I was wide awake while grieving the death of my kind that had been misled. If only we got his name, another life wouldn't have been wasted over a dead end. Adrian's POV 3 days. It's been 3 days since that incident happened and she had been numb. She barely ate, she barely slept, she barely spoke to anyone which frightened me, to be very honest. It was my fault for allowing her to get closer to the rogue. If I had stood my ground and told her that she couldn't follow me into the dungeon, she wouldn't have witnessed what she did. I had forgotten what happened when Enya wanted to confess 8 years ago. It wasn't that gory, so imagine my shock when I saw human remains splattered all over my beloved mate. I should have refused to allow her into the dungeon with me. She seemed to be a shadow of herself. Even when Lila and the Czech girls came to check up on her, she was still the same and I did not know what else to do about the situation. Mom was always checking up on her whenever I had to go do something important and couldn't stay by her side. Daxon was speaking to Jasmine because she wasn't affected by the whole incident. Only Lola was affected and I was starting to take out the frustration in everyone else. This morning, Dad ordered me to go work out instead of sitting around her, waiting for her to give a positive response. I had to be held down by 5 warriors when I almost beat my sparring partner to a pulp. I did not even realize I was hurting him until I was held back. Nathan dragged me to a deserted area and gave me a bottle of water to calm down before he started speaking. Not to be rude, Adrian, but what do you think you're doing? You could have killed Dennis if no one had held you back, he started. I know that you're being affected by what's going on with Lola but you need to get a grip, he said. I sighed before running my hands through my hair in distress. You're not going to understand, man. I was just getting to know her and it breaks my heart to see her so, well, so docile and useless, I said before sliding down the wall that I was leaning on. The pack doctor said she's fine and would return to her normal state in about 2 to 3 days. You should know by now that she's a strong woman that can pull through anything, he said before sitting down beside me. I don't know, Nathan. Even Jasmine can't communicate with her, her mind is blank and it just like she's an empty shell. I'm slowly losing it, I don't know how much more I can take before I go on a killing spree, I lamented. You're losing it already, you're not on the road to that, he said, and I glared at him. It clearly wasn't a time to joke around. You know, we've all been so focused on Lola, we forgot a very vital information we got from our questioning with the rogue. He spoke up beside me after a while and I turned to look at him. What might that be? I don't remember that rogue talking about anything important, I said. He definitely said there was a traitor in our midst and we've got to be careful, he said, as that was when I remembered that he actually said so. I had been so focused on Lola, I totally forgot about that little vital information. I totally forgot about that. We should inform Dad and probably hold a meeting about it, I said before standing up from where I sat. Adrian. The angelic voice that belongs to no else other than my mate rang in my head and I froze for a while. Everything went silent after that and I felt that I was hallucinating. It's been 3 days I heard her voice, so I must have made it up. Adrian, the voice spoke again, more clearer this time around. Baby? I asked just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating. I need you, Adrian, her shaky voice came through and my heart broke more. I did not wait to talk to Nathan before I changed into my wolf form and dashed towards the house. I did not bother to change into my human form before I bounded up the stairs towards my room where I left her in the morning. I changed at my door and opened the door to find her curled up on the bed, her body violently shaking from crying. I was sad and happy at the same time. I was happy that she was finally doing something other than being numb, but I was sad because I couldn't stand seeing her in tears. I rushed towards her, I pulled her into my chest as she kept sobbing. Hey, it's okay, baby. I'm here now, I cooed to her like a baby as I rubbed her back. It's okay, you're okay now, I whispered gently into her ear. Is he really dead? She asked, and even though I knew what she was talking about right away, I decided not to answer. I couldn't bear the thought of her relapsing again. She raised her head up to look at me and I finally saw life in her eyes. Her tear-stricken face looked so beautiful. It was all a dream, right? The rogue is still waiting to be questioned in the dungeon, right? She looked at me with hopeful eyes which changed when I shook my head. Oh my goddess, I should have listened to you, she cried. I should have gone back when you asked. He wouldn't have died if I hadn't questioned him. I'm the worst, she cried bitterly, and I held her close to me. He was manipulated. If he had found a good pack like this when his pack failed him, he wouldn't have followed that psychopath, she continued crying while I just held her. As I kept holding her crying body, I knew that I had to do something and I had to do it fast. No one gets to hurt my mate like this and go scot-free. Lola's POV: after crying for what seems like infinity, I stopped crying and slowly lifted my body from his. I gasped and my face turned red before I looked away from him. Adrian, I squealed, why are you not wearing any clothes? I asked him as I covered my face with my hands. Through the hole in my fingers, I peeped to see him look at his bare body before he face-palmed. He stood up, walked into his closet and came back after a while dressed in a sweatpant and tank top that hugged his body perfectly. He took a seat beside me and lifted me to sit on his laps again. Why were you naked? I asked him after a moment of silence. I'm sorry, I did not mean to startle you. I ran here in my wolf form immediately I heard your voice in my head. I wasn't really thinking Daxon either, he explained, and I felt bad. I wrapped my hands around his neck and cuddled closer of him. I'm sorry for worrying you, I really am, I whispered, and he nodded. It's fine, my queen. It was my fault for allowing you into the dungeon. I should have stood my ground, he said, but I shook my head. I remembered being pretty adamant. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. Next time, I'll just let you do the hard work while I wait to be updated on what's going on, I said into his neck, and his whole body vibrated with laughter. Anything my queen wants, my queen gets. He dropped a kiss on my forehead afterwards. Let's get you fed, yeah? You've barely eaten for 3 days. He stood up with me in his arms and walked downstairs. He had barely sat me down when Rose came running down the stairs. I thought I heard Lola's voice as you came down the stairs, she said as she reached the base of the stairs. Hi, Rose, I greeted from the kitchen, and she ran into the kitchen. She paused when she saw me and I stood to greet her. Hi, Rose, I said again, and she teared up. Her tiny frame hugged me tightly and I was moved to tears. Don't ever do that again. In fact, I forbid you from doing anything pack-related. You keep giving me heart attacks every full moon, she said sternly after moving back from me. I can't totally cut off pack matters, I happen to be the next Luna of the wolf world, I said with a grin. She sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. Fine. But you have to be careful. I can't have you getting hurt at every turn. I might grow old faster than I should because of you, young lady, she said dramatically, and Adrian laughed from behind us. Mom, she has to eat before you attack her like that, he spoke, and Rose pouted like a child. I swear those two are alike in every way. She barely ate for 3 days, would you want her to pass out again? He asked her, and she quickly nodded her head before turning back the way she came from. Finally. Good to have you back, human, Jasmine spoke through our mind link, making me smile. Missed me? I asked her and felt her roll her eyes. I did. I did not miss you one bit, she said, but I did not believe a word. Don't ever do that again, Lola. I was worried, she said gently, and I sighed. To be very honest, I don't know why I acted like that. In all my years of hardship, I never thought there are people who had it worse than me. After all, there's nothing as shameful and hurtful as being the omega of the pack, I said, but knowing that life was lost because he did not get the love of a true pack shook me. It could have been us. We were in that same situation, but we managed to find the perfect place for us with our mate. It was quite a lot for me. I think my body did the shutdown to avoid breaking, I finished with a sigh. You should eat, baby. Adrian's voice reached my ear as he placed a plate filled with lots of food in front of me. Oh, wow! When did you whip up all of this? I exclaimed. I did not expect him to do that much in a little time. Ah! I have the best mate ever. I ate hungrily. I did not know I was so hungry until I took the first bite. I can swear that I've never eaten as much as I did since I was birthed. I patted my stomach and placed my head on the counter. Oh goddess! I groaned out, I feel so full. Do you want me to get you another plate? Adrian asked, and I looked at him sharply with a death glare. I'm pretty sure I said that I was full. I squinted my eyes at him and he held up his hands in surrender. Oops, I just have heard wrong, he said innocently before laughing. He looked so happy, so I let him off the hook. I'll get you one day, I told him, but he brushed me off, carried my plate and went to wash the plates. I made to get up to help him when he spoke again. Sit down, baby. I can handle this myself. Yeah, I mocked him before sitting down again. Watching him do basic things in the kitchen gladdened my heart. I don't ever want to lose this man. Adrian. Yeah. He turned back to look at me after wiping his hands. Is something the matter? He came closer and sat beside me. Clearing my throat, I asked the question that has been on my mind since I went through the event of the other night in my head. Who do you think the traitor amongst us is? Have you given it a thought? Lola's POV. He looked at me for what seemed like eternity before he sighed and looked away. Lola, I thought you were not going to involve yourself in things like this anymore. He asked as he rubbed his hand over his face and I pouted. I said I was going to stay away from the dangerous parts. I did not say I wouldn't ask for information and updates. I crossed my hands over my chest. I haven't been able to give it much thought. I've been occupied by you and your condition. I've been totally useless for the past 3 days, he said. We can do it now then. Let's go meet with Jaden and talk to him. I stood up and took his hand in mine. I should contact Nathan and tell him to be here with his father as soon as possible, he said, but I stopped him. No, he looked at me quizzically. No, you can't call them here, I rushed out. But they're the beta and next in line for the beta position, he tried to explain to me, but I wasn't backing down. And the rogue clearly said the traitor is someone amongst us. That means we can't trust anyone, no one at all, Adrian. You should know that, I argued with my hands crossed over my chest and he sighed. You're right, he said before his eyes glazed over, indicating he was mind-linking someone. Arg. The nerves of this alpha. Dad is in the study, he said after his eyes became focused again. Oh, okay. We should go and see him then. I actually thought he was mind-linking Nathan after I told him not to. No, I wasn't. Have some faith in me, baby. His voice rang in my head and I became slightly red from embarrassment. Who was I kidding? I was totally red from being caught. We left the kitchen and went towards Jaden's study. Adrian did not knock before he entered and I just followed behind him. Jaden gave me a smile with a little head nod when I entered the room, which I returned with a bow. It's the second time I'll be entering the study and it still amazes me. It's nice to see you're back with us, Lola, Jaden said when we finally sat down. This one right here almost went on a rampage, he pointed at Adrian whose ear tips became red. I'm so sorry for causing trouble and worries every now and then, I gently apologized and he waved me off. You said you were going to discuss something important, he faced Adrian who nodded before speaking. Yeah, I totally forgot about it until Nathan reminded me today, he started. The rogue we caught said we have a traitor amongst us. Jaden growled at the word traitor, one who would dare to give out important pack information to a common rogue. He asked no one in particular. Dad, I'm sure we'll find a way around this. Let's hold a mating ceremony for Lola and I, Adrian said, and I looked at him in shock. We definitely did not discuss that. Where is the mating ceremony coming from? What is a mating ceremony to start with? I asked him through our mind link. Can you trust me, baby? We'll definitely find the traitor, I just need you to trust me, he replied, and I went silent. My mind wandered to what a mating ceremony might be. He already marked me, what is a mating ceremony then? No, it can't be. A mating ceremony is not what you told me, right? I asked, referring to the part where I mark him too, and he chuckled in my head. No, of course not, baby. I only want to keep your beautiful moans of pleasure for my ears alone. I looked at his face and he smirked briefly at me before turning back to Jaden like he did not just say something naughty. It's decided. We're going to hold it in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure everyone would like to meet their new Luna also, Jaden said, giving me a small smile, and I smiled back even though I was freaking out on the inside. Everyone would like to meet their new Luna? What did I miss? How did we go from looking for the traitor to me suddenly being in the spotlight? You're overthinking this. I'm getting dizzy from listening to your thoughts, Adrian said, and I glared at him. That serves you right. You should stop listening to my thoughts then. I nearly poked my tongue out at him, but I remembered we were seated in front of Jaden and put myself in check. It will go well, baby. The people are going to love you and be happy to have you as their Luna, Adrian assured me through our mind link, and I hummed in agreement. We'll take our leave if that will be all. I'm sure Mom will have a field day with this news. Adrian stood up as he finished talking, and I stood up too. Lola better be prepared for what's about to come, Jaden joked, and I gulped. Deep down, I knew they were right. Rose was going to make a big deal out of this. We had barely reached the living room when she came downstairs, really excited. I looked at Adrian with wide eyes, but that traitor shook his head before backing away slowly. You're leaving me with her? Oh, come on, I said, but he kept backing away. Sorry, you're alone in this. He turned away and went upstairs, not looking behind once. You're going to pay for this. I called out after him, but he did not respond. Lola, she squealed excitedly, and I put on a smile. I wouldn't like to offend her, and it definitely looks like a big deal to her. Jaden just told me your mating ceremony is in 2 weeks, I nodded at her words, making her squeal like a teenager. Finally. Oh we're going to have so much fun planning this, she said. First, we're going to. The rest of the day passed by in a blur. An appointment was set up at Serena's spa. She made me choose from a series of hair designs. Clothes were not left behind either. It was crazy, and if I thought Lila was crazy when it comes to picking clothes and fashion, Rose was definitely crazier. When I finally escaped from Rose after dinner, I was ready to pass out. Who knew sitting down, just listening to someone talk your ear off and make decisions could be so tiring? Well, it definitely is. I gave Adrian the cold shoulder and just went to sleep straight. I was tired and slightly annoyed he left me alone, so I ignored him and slept. I'll deal with it in the morning. Lola's POV: it was a new dawn, and I thought the craziness would have died down, but it got worse. The little bit of peace I had was before I went down for breakfast. Lola, we're going to be going to the pack house later today, Rose started speaking when I stood up to do the dishes, on which I refused Adrian's help because I was still annoyed with him. "Why do we need to go?" I asked, dreading her answer. "Girl, I don't want to see so many confusing colors and designs again. I'm still recovering from doing such yesterday," Jasmine whined in my head, and I totally agreed. "Lila and the girls will be there. We'll need to decide on the foods, decorations, theme, and a lot more. Everything needs to be picked out and sorted," she replied, happily wiping at the counter she was cleaning. "It's still like 2 weeks away, can't we just take it one at a time and chill out?" I asked. I made the mistake of looking at her and saw that she was already glaring daggers at the back of my head. "Of course we should do everything on time," I laughed nervously. "I should go and get ready once I'm done doing the dishes." I rushed out and continued doing the dishes. "You made the right choice, Pumpkin. Delaying decisions like this can cause a last-minute disaster. Your day has to be perfect, just the way you are." She came over to pinch my cheeks before leaving the kitchen. "Oh, be ready before 12 p.m. With that, she walked gracefully out of the kitchen and I sighed. I did not know how I felt about the whole thing. First off, I did not know what the mating ceremony is about, and we're planning a huge party because of it. And I'm also thrown into the preparations that come with it. "I guess we're not getting away today also," Jasmine whined. Yes, Jasmine. "We'll be thrown into the frenzy for the next 2 weeks, I told her, and she growled. Adrian came back to the kitchen when I was almost done with the dishes and hugged me from the back, making my heartbeat speed up. "You're still mad at me?" he whispered huskily in my ears. I almost forgot what he did until he bit my earlobes to bring me out of my thoughts. "Isn't that obvious?" I managed to croak out, and he chuckled. "I'm sorry, baby. There's nothing I could have done to get you out of that situation. Mom can be scary when she's planning a party," he said before his mouth wandered to my mark to place a kiss on it, making pleasure course through my veins. How can I stay mad at this man when he keeps doing that? Trust me, I've witnessed it firsthand. "But you could have said I was still recovering," I breathed out. "And stop doing that, you're not being fair," I moaned out, but he kept on kissing the same spot. "This man will be the death of me." I remembered that I had to be at the pack house with Rose in a few hours and pushed him away from me. He gave me puppy eyes, but I neglected him and tried to finish washing the plates in record time. "What's the time?" I asked when it looked like I won't be able to finish it before she said it's time to go. "It's 11:13 a.m. Why do you ask?" he said from where he sat after I pushed him away from me. "Oh. Can you please finish this up for me? I have to go get ready." I hurriedly rinsed my hands and ran out of the kitchen. "Hey, this is not fair," he called out. "I love you," I shouted back before dashing into my room. I was about to enter the bathroom when I remembered that I said I loved him. Oh no, what did I just do? My cheeks heated up and I covered my face. What if he thinks I'm obsessed with him or crazy? What if he thinks it's too early to say the L word? I screamed internally. "Don't you think you're being too dramatic?" Jasmine asked in my head. "He's our mate, Dumbo." These words should have been exchanged since we first met. "And how are you so sure he doesn't feel the same for you?" she said. "Besides, he worships the ground you walk on. You shouldn't have any second thoughts about how he feels about you. Jasmine was right, I shouldn't feel embarrassed for telling my mate that I loved him. Just a little reminder that Rose will be calling for you any moment from now and you will be in deep trouble if she doesn't see that you're ready to go. That was all the reminder I needed to bathe at the speed of light and dress up quicker than a lightning passes through the sky. I settled on a deep red blouse with cream-colored maxi skirt and finished it off with a black sandal. I left my hair down in waves and used a black headband to keep it in place. I picked up my phone in Adrian's room and opened it to find tons of messages from Lola and the girls which I did not bother opening or replying to. They'd chew me out when we finally see each other, but I could live with that. I reached the living room the same time Rose decided to call me. "You look gorgeous, baby," Adrian complimented me. "Thank you," I said as I shyly brushed my hair behind my ear. Now, Rose said, breaking up the moment, "it's nice to see you being cute with each other, but we have to go now if we're going to get anything done," she spoke before reaching over to carry her bag that was lying on the sofa. Adrian looked like he was going to say something but decided against it. He hugged me closer to his body and placed a gentle kiss on my forehead. "I'll see you later, baby. Be good and have fun," he pulled back from me after that. Rose took me hand in hers and we left the house together. It's going to be a long day, especially when I have to face the girls. Lola's POV Lila, Lola, and Avianca were the first people I saw as we got closer to the pack house. I'm definitely getting chewed up today, I thought. Rose must have sensed the direction my thinking went because she chuckled beside me. "I told them to wait outside the pack house for us. And I definitely warned them against blowing up on your face," she said. At the mention of blowing up on your face, my breathing became rapid and I felt like I was being choked. Memories of that rogue blowing up came to the forefront of my mind and I gasped. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh goddess, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have used those words," she said apologetically, and I wanted to tell her that I was fine but I couldn't speak up. It felt like my lungs were being pressed on. Panic attack? But I was fine up till that moment. Lola, Lola, and Avianca must have seen the scene or Rose must have summoned them because they ran towards us and supported me. "Let's get her inside, she must be experiencing a panic attack," she ordered the girls and they looked at her in confusion. "Why is she suddenly having a panic attack?" Lola asked as I was being taken into the pack house. I might have said something regarding the incident that happened recently. "Quick, let's get her to a room," she ordered, and they all led me to our hangout space in the pack house, Lila's former room. I could hear them perfectly fine but I found it difficult to speak. It took a while before I could regain my speaking ability. They all looked worried and I felt so bad. All I seem to cause nowadays is worry for people around me. "I'm sorry for causing worry for everyone," I spoke lowly and their expressions changed. Their initial frowns were replaced with large smiles and excited sounds left their lips. I was pulled into a group hug and I laughed heartily. How I've missed this with my friends. "You are going to suffocate her if you don't break up the hug," Rose said. "Lila, be careful, you're pregnant," she said sternly before we eventually pulled away from one another. The smiles on our faces were huge and bright nevertheless. "I'd come back later to check on you once you're well rested," Rose spoke, looking at me directly and I nodded. She left the room after what she said. We waited for a while before we all burst into excited squeals again. Lila was the first to hit me. Ouch! What was that for? I asked while rubbing my shoulder. Don't you ever do that again. You scared us, she said. I smiled at her and held her hands. I'm sorry, ladies. It wasn't my intention to make you worry at all, I said as I looked at all of their faces. I won't allow that to happen anymore, okay? I did a puppy face as I looked at them expectantly. Finey, you better not do that again, Avianca was the first to break. Lila almost lost my goddaughter from worrying too much, Lola added. Avianca turned to face her with her hands on her hips. Excuse you miss. This right here, she pointed to Lila's belly, is my goddaughter. They kept arguing back and forth. Lila sat down beside me and we kept looking at them. At Liat, you're a bit sane, these two almost drove me insane with their constant talks and banters, she said at the same time they stopped bantering and looked at her with a glare. Oops! You guys did not miss me? You've been fighting non-stop since I got here. Fill me in, did anything happen when I was gone? I asked. These girls made me love tea so much and I wasn't even talking about real tea. Girl, Faye has been going around telling people she's going to be the new Luna, Avianca piped up. Like, I was shocked by the nerves of her. She's no longer limping and now she acts like a queen. She doesn't do that when Adrian is around though, Lola added. It's like she knows something that everyone doesn't know. I bet she's going to go crazy when she knows you're having a mating ceremony, Lila clapped excitedly and the girls joined in. I swear, I'm going to have that Pisha's head on a pole and hang in the center of the pack. She's getting on my nerves, Jasmine growled in my head but that wasn't what I was focused on. A traitor is amongst you. A traitor is amongst you. The rogue's word kept ringing in my head. I contemplated telling Adrian but I felt like I was just overreacting. Sure, she might be an obsessed psychopath but she can't be crazy enough to sell out the pack she wants to rule over. Right? I sighed and rubbed my hand over my face in frustration. By the way, I love the clothes combination. Looks like Lila awakened the fashionista in you. Girl, you look so hot. How did Adrian let you out of the house? Avianca, always energized, spoke rapidly and Lola nodded. I particularly like her top. Did you get this when we went to? Oh goddess, you got marked. Lila shouted. That was when it dawned on me that I did not tell them about the mark. I knew her scent changed but I did not even think about her getting marked at all. Oh you, who knew our innocent baby girl had it in her? Lola added and my face became red. No, it's definitely not like that. We haven't completed the mating process, I covered my face after speaking and they all laughed. Yeah, it's just a matter of time before it gets done, Avianca patted my back and I glared at her making everyone laugh. Guys, I know Rose said you should rest well but I can bet on Nathan's left ear that she's going to barge in here anytime and pull us out to prepare, Lila said as she stood up. Now, let's get us out there before Rose comes to look for us. She pointed towards the door and we all grudgingly left. We passed Faye on our way out. She was with her minions and tried to look intimidating but I did not spare her another glance. The possibility of her being the traitor weighed heavily on my mind, but I decided that I was going to trust Adrian and allow him take charge of fishing them out. With that in mind, I went about my day with my girls. Lola's POV 2 weeks passed in a blink of an eye, but I wouldn't say the same for the stress that came with it. Clothes were sized and resized, colored were picked and changed at almost every angle. Rose, I and the girls all made a trip to Serena's spa to get massages. My nails were done and my hair was ready too. Rose was picky over everything and all I wanted was some peace. The only time I got to rest was in my mate's arms. He would hold me after a long day and rub my legs, back or any part of my body that I complained about. I was so grateful for the gift of him. Once or twice, the innocent massages turned into something else, but Adrian never did what I wasn't ready for. He was attentive, loving, and caring. I eventually figured out what the mating ceremony was about. It was basically an event where the next alpha marks his Luna before the whole pack to signify that they're one before being crowned the next alpha and Luna of the pack. But since Adrian already marked me privately because he claimed that it was supposed to be something between mates alone, we were just going to be crowned the new Alpha and Luna. Apart from the event preparations, I had to visit many elders before that day and introduce myself properly to them. I visited the orphanage and did some charity work too. Half of the pack, if not all, knows that I was going to be the Luna even before the official announcement. I had met Faye briefly on 1 or 2 occasions and she looked like she wanted me dead when I saw her. I totally ignored her, but the fact that she could be the one selling out the pack weighed heavily on my mind. Adrian was also making preparations, but all he has to do was pick out a suit, which he made me do. I was excited for it. I wasn't going to lie, but the nerves outweighed my excitement. Although people acknowledged me as their Luna already, there's this nagging feeling at the back of my mind that it was going to be ruined for me, but I shook it off. A day before the ceremony, Rose insisted that we do not sleep in the same room because, according to her, it's bad luck. She said it's similar to a wedding in the human world and we shouldn't jinx the ceremony by sleeping in the same room the night before. She'd have made me stay in the pack house with the girls if Lila still lived there, so she made us sleep in separate rooms instead. I couldn't sleep all night due to 2 things. Firstly, I was so used to sleeping beside Adrian, engulfed in his body warmth, that it was so hard for me to sleep in my bed. Wearing his shirt so I could be engulfed in his scent did not do much except make me relaxed, but I wasn't relaxed enough to sleep. Secondly, I was so worried about the events that might happen. Adrian hasn't been giving me information on how finding the traitor was going, but I just felt like something was going to ruin the day for me. "You're still up?" Adrian's voice rang in my head and I smiled. It's good to know that I'm not the only one having trouble sleeping. "Missing me?" I teased him. "You bet I am. Why did Mom have to bring up this superstition to make us stay away from each other?" He groaned into the mind link and I laughed. "I can't wait for all of these to be over tomorrow night so we can be back to sleeping together in each other's arms," he said softly, and I hummed in agreement. "You think I can sneak into your room without being discovered?" he asked, mischief evident in his voice, making me laugh softly. "I'll see you in the morning, Alpha," I said, and imagined him pouting like he usually did. We talked for a while before I eventually drifted off to a restless sleep. I woke up feeling slightly on edge. I chalked it up to feeling nervous about the mating ceremony. Rose came to get me before I could see Adrian and led me to the pack house without even getting breakfast. She kept saying it's bad luck to see my mate before the mating ceremony, so I had my breakfast at the pack house. At 12 p.m., we started getting ready for the party. My hair was refixed, my makeup was done for almost 4 hours and I was fussed over. I almost shouted at Rose but kept it inside. After the makeup was done, I waited while others got theirs done too. It was fun talking to everyone and laughing even though my thoughts kept going back to the fact that something was going to happen. At about 5 p.m., I was asked to put on my clothes and that was the highlight of my day. I fell in love with the clothes that first day I saw it and it seemed to get more beautiful even though it has been altered. It was a deep red colored floor-length gown. It had a thin strap and showed a bit of cleavage. The chest area was covered with stone. It was body-fitting to the knee before it flared out. It stood out against my pale skin and I was wowed by what I saw. Gasps erupted in the room and words like, "Oh my goddess, Lola, you look so amazing, you're definitely going to be the center of attraction tonight," and many more were thrown around the room. Rose walked up to me looking emotional. She took my hands in hers and looked in the eyes. "I don't know if I've said this before but I'm so glad my son came to his senses before he lost you. You're finally going to be that daughter I lost and I'm so glad I was able to save you," she said with tears in her eyes. I understood what she was saying perfectly and that made me very emotional. I hugged her and whispered in her ears, "And I'm so lucky that you found me, Mom." She pulled me closer and sniffed severally before pulling back. "Adrian better be wowed and get emotional when he sees you or there would be no mating ceremony," Rose joked and we all laughed. Others got ready too in their different designs of white gowns. Apparently, I was the only one wearing red since the ceremony was for me. Eventually it was time to get the show started. Everyone left all ready for the garden, leaving me alone in the room. I would be notified when it was time for me to make an entrance. "It's time," the phone I was holding showed a message from Rose. I dropped the phone and took a deep breath before walking through the deserted house, my red veil in place. "Here goes nothing," I thought to myself as I walked out of the pack house into the prepared garden. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.